Welcome to Earth 2, where superheroes exist and comic book talk is the norm. I'm your host, Vito D.
Mo Crosby.
Welcome to the planet.
Welcome to the planet.
So, as per usual, what we like to do is we like to come up with a list of top 5.
Yep.
A top 5 that isn't really in order, pretty much.
Yeah, never ever in order. It's just 5 things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what Mo and I were talking about was with the success of American Gods and The Walking Dead and Outcast being renewed and Preacher being renewed, even though it's a lot different than what it is in the comics.
Yes.
These comic book inspired shows are pretty much almost a success almost all the time. I mean, and also with the news that Sin City is getting their own TV show as well.
So yeah.
So we were talking about what would be some good comics that would make a really interesting or a really good show.
Good show. So what did we do? We came up with 5.
Yeah, we each came with 5 because we were trying to make one list of 5, and we couldn't come up with it.
So we decided.
So we're
gonna go each.
Yeah, so each one has their own top 5 this week. I mean, this time. So without further ado,
about to get into it.
So up first, Alex and Ada, or Alex and Ada. I don't know how you pronounce it.
Ada?
Ada? ADA? Ada? I don't know.
Ada.
Well, I'm from this.
Excuse me. Well, I don't know. Well, speaking of where they're from, they're actually from around this area.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, so they're usually here at the little smaller cons. They were at Third Eye. But it's Jonathan Luna, and it's drawn by Jonathan Luna and written by Sarah Vaughn. What it's about, it's about a guy who's pretty much a loner. He's trying to get over his ex-girlfriend, and he's just trying to move on, but he's an introvert. So he just, he has friends, they come over, they try to help him out, but it's not working, pretty much. His grandma is always, I don't know, he's more in contact with his grandma than he is with his mom, but his grandma, it takes place in DC, and in the future, I guess you can say that, because they have androids that a company sells. Now, what these androids do is that they're there for your for whatever you want, whether it's if you need a cook, or if you need someone to watch over the house while you're gone, or someone just to keep you company, sort of like nowadays with Alexa and Siri, where you can just have a conversation with them, or just ask them questions and they'll respond. So that's who Ada is. His grandma buys him one for his birthday, and he just befriends it. And then the whole concept of this story is that you can, just like you can unlock your phones, you can unlock a conscience for these androids. So he debates whether or not you should or shouldn't do it, and he does it. And in return, he realizes that she's learning everything and she has feelings. She becomes sentient. And what's going on is that, just like current days now, where everyone's judging Muslims and are afraid of being around Muslims, everyone's afraid of being around the androids, because one android apparently went rogue and just went on a killing spree. So you can't let anyone know that you're an android for real, or that you're sentient, because that's illegal now. So this book touches on that, and I think it will make a really great show, because you can add and you can relate to so much stuff that's going on nowadays with it, and that's what makes a really good show, is if you can make it relatable.
All right, so I'm gonna kick mine off with the Question. The Question is a character that was created by Steve Ditko, and he's an investigative journalist in one of his iterations, and that's very interesting because his name is actually Charles Victor Zsasz. If you've been watching Gotham, or you read any Batman book, you know who Victor Zsasz is, but this is a different version, or this is a different person entirely. So he also goes by the name of Victor Sage, or Vic Sage. Anyway, so with the success of Gotham, that's why I felt this could work, because you have Gotham really thriving the way it is on Fox, and I feel like Fox can also pick up the question, because he's an investigative journalist by day, and when he finds a story that he can't really investigate as Vic Sage, he puts this mask on that gives him the impression of having no face, and with that he goes and investigates, and he's one of the best detectives in the DC universe, along with Batman and Detective Chimp. But he has his own special way of doing things, and I think he'd be a very, very interesting character that can translate very well to TV show, where you can have a crime drama and just have him, be a investigative journalist by day and do his thing at night. I think that's very interesting, and I think it'd be worth picking up.
Next up is East of West, written by Jonathan Hickman. If Imagine a world where it's old Western times, but it's also in the future because of all the technology, but also bringing mythology into it, where it's like you bring in the four horsemen of death, you bring death. I mean, the four horsemen of the apocalypse, and you bring death, and it all becomes one big cluster of things, where death is pretty much trying to track down his son and his ex-wife, I guess you can call her that. But it's really good, and it would make for a really good type HBO type.
Next up, I am going to do Wanted. Okay, so you're thinking Wanted. This is supposed to be like a fresh comic books that are doing TV. Nah, because when you read the comic book Wanted and when you watch the movie Wanted, you're looking at two different things. Yes, it was adapted from that. There, similar elements, but it was totally turned around. The story is totally different, and so I'm thinking, cable premium cable network could pick this up and actually adapt the real story of Wanted, so we can get the actual story from the book. This is a Mark Miller book, and it's something that is going to be. It was very, very interesting and raw. And I believe that if they actually adapted it the right way into the movie, I wouldn't be doing this for the TV show. But it's also something that can go for a TV show, probably a mini series or even like maybe 2-3 seasons and call it quits. So take this up. If you haven't read it, go read it, and you might agree with me. And I definitely want it to be a TV show, so hopefully it gets adapted to TV.
Ghosted by Joshua Williamson. What this is that there's a guy who apparently can track down paranormal activities and trap ghosts. And there is a guy, well, currently he's in jail. And there's a guy that collects, who's a collector. He wants to collect different things. And he gets in his head that, you know what, maybe if I collect a ghost, then there will be nothing else for me to collect. So he frees the main character out of jail and tells him, look, either you help me collect a ghost or you're going to go back into jail. So it's kind of creepy, kind of scary, because he always goes into like these little haunted mansions and he does encounter ghosts, and the ghost always, he has a team, and the ghost always tends to possess someone on his team, and he has to exorcise the demon out while he's trying to not kill a ghost, if that's possible. But it's really creepy and it's really good. So no, why don't you make that into a show?
Next up is Nailbiter. This was a very, very interesting comic book series that I read. It was a mini series, but this is written by Joshua Williamson. I know Vito gave you one by Joshua Williamson, and I'm giving you another. Joshua Williamson, we respect and adore him as a writer, so of course his work to us is probably one of the best things to translate to live action or to TV series. In this comic, you have a detective and a former FBI agent who go to a town to investigate, a town where a lot of the serial killers in America are from. So this is something where you could do weekly, where there's a new serial killer, or you can do it like you did in The Killing, where you can go one season for one serial killer, the next season for another, and do a really, really great job of it. It's a very, very rich story. You can actually go ahead and make it into a mini series like it was done in the comic books. So it works. It's something that I know can work out, and it's something that I know that can work for TV. So you know what, whoever's listening, take this and run with it.
Following the theme of ghosts, the Five Ghosts of Fabian Gray, or currently known as Five Ghosts, written by Frank Barbier, something like that. So what this is that it's called Five Ghosts is because there's a guy that comes across an ancient artifact and then becomes possessed by five ghosts, giving him the skills of those 5 ghosts. It's an archer, it's a detective, it's a wizard, it's a samurai, and a vampire. So of course they're all inspired by famous uh famous ones of their kind, I guess you can say that. So the vampire would be Dracula, of course. The archer would have been Robin Hood. The detective is Sherlock Holmes, and the wizard is Merlin. I don't know who the samurai is. They don't ever really mention it, but they're little caricatures on it. So since it's like, I guess it's like Indiana Jones but with ghosts, right? So if something happens and he needs to like learn, if he has to fight off a what's it called, uh, somebody, then depending on the situation, he can use his sorcery from the wizard, or he can use his fighting knowledge from the samurai, and the ghost will guide him through it. But the whole first arc is about him trying to prove himself to each and every individual ghost that he is worthy of their powers. So that was the first arc, and it was so good that from like the third issue from the first story, they made it an ongoing series because it was only supposed to be a mini series, and it's been going on for a while now. So I suggest, they can really turn this into a really well put show where he's just always in search of a different artifact, and he's using the skills from every single ghost to help him out. But the whole first season could be about him trying to prove himself, just like he did in the first story arc, and it's really good. So he's always battling not only his demons but also the demons for the ghosts. So say like if they had like a problem in their past life, then he helps them get through it as well.
Next up is Paper Girls. Paper Girls is written. Paper Girls is written by Brian K. Vaughan. With the success of Stranger Things, I think Paper Girls will really work because you have a group of young girls in the 80s, paper girls really, on a paper route one night, and the next night or the next day they're in the future and they're going through all these adventures. And again, I say with the success of Stranger Things, exactly. So it kind of runs a little like Stranger Things, but it doesn't have the look of Stranger Things per se. And with with what we're trying to do now to push diversity and females to the forefront of TV and movies, I think this is something that could really work. And you're not just pushing TV, or you're not just pushing women. You're not just pushing. It's a diverse group because there's an Asian. I think there's an Asian and Hispanic one. Yeah, so you have a diverse group of young girls. So you can actually show young girls that they could actually be heroes and be more than themselves. And I think this actually works very well. So why not translate this into a show? Be the first to do it.
And last, Manifest Destiny, written by Chris Dinges. Dinges?
Dingus Khan.
Dinges. Right. So, what Manifest Destiny is, we all went to school. We all learned about the adventures of Lois and Clark. No, not Superman and Lois Lane. I'm talking about the ones that explored America, right?
Really
The Western
thinking Lois and
expansion,
Clark,
right?
like-
And I saw your eye just get gleamy, right? So they what it is, it's the Western expansion. They get contracted by the government to go explore this uncharted territory, but there's a twist. This is the story that they never told you. He come across animals such as minotaurs. He comes across zombie moss body covered zombies, I guess. The Indian tribes, they come across different things. So it's written from the diary of Lois and Clark, and they have nothing but what's his name, criminals and people that are supposed to be in jail at the moment, as part of their crew, rather than just skilled people, because the government knew that there was something out there that they didn't want to tell them. So it was all pretty much they're walking into a trap. So the way they do minotaurs is that how like it's supposed to be like half horse, half bull, or something like that. It's buffalo this time, and it's like they're on roids, and they talk to each other. And every single issue, there's a different monster, and it's nothing. It's not something that I've ever seen before. And you're just like, holy crap, this is really good. So a show where they show that and they actually show some kind of history would be really cool to watch.
Finally, I have for you Sex Criminals. Sex Criminals is written by Matt Fraction. Matthew Fraction.
Fraction.
Okay, yeah, it's written by Matt Fraction. really, I
And
started.
Chip Zdarsky as the art.
Yeah, I started reading this because Vito had mentioned this once on Comic Book Day, and it is lovely. It is very interesting, and I think it's something that definitely can translate. Maybe not on your regular cable channels, but not on your regular TV, but like premium or AMC could even translate it because I mean, they've translated Preacher, they've translated The Walking Dead, so why not? This can work. It's a guy. It starts off with a woman who has these powers, where how did you describe it? Where she's having sex, and at the climax,
Well, it doesn't. Yeah,
she stops time, and then she gets
it
to
doesn't
like,
even have to be sex. It's
yeah, you can
whenever
do,
she comes.
yeah, you
Yeah.
can do, you can. It's interesting because you can do it with you can actually go full on, or you could just make it a little scene, and you don't have to go into the full details, but it's something that is very interesting and you can look at, where there's the criminals, and they're criminals because of what they do, and they're not necessarily criminals because all they're doing is borrowing and giving it back. But if you look at it
It's unknowingly.
it's an exactly, so it could work for a mini series, it could work for a full series, so why not take it and run with it.
So all in all, this has been these have been our list of what we think would make a really good show. We didn't go full on into details because as well, we don't know if you guys are reading
Exactly.
it or
Something
if
that
you
you
guys
mentioned.
are if you guys are into it. So we try to avoid as many spoilers as we could. Down below, uh, give us your 5 or give us a pitch for what you think should be turned into a TV show. There's a difference between turning it into a TV show and then turning into it into a movie. So
yeah.
what we chose was the ones that we felt would be better as a TV,
TV
show,
show.
as opposed to a movie. Who knows? Maybe later on we'll come out with a top 5 for that.
Of course.
So
Top 5.
stay tuned.
Every day, all day, every day.
So down below, just write down your recommendations of what you think it would be. Like and subscribe. Also follow our social media.
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
All the same thing.
Earth 2
Comic
Comicast with the number 2.
Same thing with our podcast on SoundCloud.com.
Earth 2.
So,
Comicast.
season Earth 2.
Keep watching.
Yeah, go for your unboxing.